Sorry. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Chris checking in with another video. I am with the Beyonce of expats in Germany. How are you, girl?
Oh, I'm good.
Welcome,
wow.
Hayley. It's
What
a pleasure
nice
to have you. Yes,
Oh
listen, I give her the praise that she deserves, because if it weren't for you, I wouldn't have a visa in this country because I wouldn't know how to apply for one. Your videos literally helped us out, so thank you. So help me out. So thank you, me and my boyfriends. We,
Really?
you know, we're both saying thank you. Yeah, I got here in Germany. I'm documented because of her advice. Yeah. So thank you. You help a lot of people.
Videos are sort of helpful.
Yes.
Sometimes.
It is impossible that you do not know who she is if you follow people on Germany who basically are living abroad that are Americans. She has 100,000 subscribers. Check her out. I follow her videos. I check her out every day, her videos. Yeah. So, yes. So if you don't know, if you haven't noticed, we are both people of color. We are both African American. Hayley is mixed. She is half black, half white. And today we're going to talk about a few things that I think is very important because one, I am someone who is black, but I'm also a male, so I think I reap the benefits of male privilege in many ways, and I think it's very important for more black people to know about the things that our black counterparts deal with in the 21st century, and just how to be a better ally. So I prepared a bunch of questions for you just to ask what it's been like for you being a black woman here in Germany, some of the things that you've maneuvered, and to go from there. So do you want to introduce yourself a bit for people who don't know you, but it's impossible not to know you? Yes, tell us.
Hi, you guys. My name is Hayley. Welcome to Chris's YouTube channel. If you did not know, now you do.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Give it to him. Give it to him.
So yeah, I've been living in Germany off and on. I would say now I'm going on my 6th year, give or take, I believe, right? And hopefully, all of the work that I do, that I'm trying to get permanent residency. That is the main goal. Maybe one day become a citizen, but for now, what I'm focusing on is getting permanent residency. I'm from Florida, from the United States. And what else is there to say about me? I don't know.
You're a really nice person.
Am I really?
Yes. Listen,
sometimes.
She's a very nice person on YouTube and as well as in person. Yeah, so people need to know that about
Thank you.
So I have a bunch of questions prepared for you. When I was on the train coming over, I prepared a whole bunch of questions. So they're basically just going into detail about your background, where you come from. They have a lot to do with your identity, just to inform both of our viewers who are predominantly German about what life is like for us on a personal basis. So, yep. So number one is, where do you come from, and describe your American childhood in 3 adjectives.
Okay, so let's say I'm from Florida. I'm from the south of Florida. Country, I'm not gonna say like the city or anything because then people privacy concerns, but I am from like southern country bumpkin Florida. I think the majority of where I came from, they're like very conservative Republicans. I went to school and people sometimes had their cows. I remember one time someone brought a horse to ride to school. So
yeah, very country.
Yeah, that's like, I want to put emphasis on that so people have a little bit of understanding where some of my answers might come from. For my childhood, fun.
Okay.
I had a lot of fun as a child. I mean, looking back at it now, living a little bit longer and seeing myself today, I think it was a little complicated. That might be a good one.
Okay.
And then, oh my gosh, this is a hard question. Maybe confusing.
Confusing.
Yeah, confusing I think would be good.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a bunch of love, but there were a bunch of obstacles that I feel like all kids, they have to go through when they grow up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about, I guess, your racial identity. How do you define yourself, and how does this identity, apply to your life in the 21st century?
I've come to accept the fact that I am mixed. For some people, this is like, what? But for a lot of people, because I'm either seen as, the black girl or the girl that's maybe white with a bad tan. I get this on YouTube a lot. And so for me, it's very hard because I'll have people that'll say, oh my gosh, you're only black. And I'm like, well, that's sort of like very closed-minded to think that I said, you know that I'm not just black. You've seen my mom. I have my mom on YouTube and everything. So for me, I would say that my identity, how I perceive it is that I'm a mixed girl, and I don't know, I guess mixed would be also, it's a very ambiguous term because it can be anything. But when people do ask me, I do have to specify that I'm African American.
African American.
Yep.
Okay. So in terms of your identity, what's been your experience dealing with racism as a mixed woman in America?
Growing up, I think I told this story, like the first time that I ever came into contact with, let's say, racism is that I really liked this boy. I had the biggest crush on him. I liked him so much. He was white. And for me, we would always play in preschool or kindergarten. I don't remember where it was. And then I told him that I liked him. You know how little kids say, like, I like you, hee hee. And he was like, oh, I like you too. But he said my mom and dad won't let me like N-words. And I was like,
how old were you when that happened?
Maybe, how old are you? Like 4 or 5, maybe?
And this boy confessed to you that
he liked me,
but you were
the N-word.
The N-word, and he therefore couldn't.
And so my mom and my grandma, they were the ones that raised me. They're both white women, but they never expressed to me like, you're black, you're white. They never expressed like too much on skin color. They would just be like, you're Hayley, you're this, you're that. And so when I went, I think it was either to my mom or my grandma. I think it was my grandma. I told my grandma, like, what does this N-word mean? And she was like shocked, and she was like very sad and very hurt. And she's like, who said this to you? And I'm like, oh, what's his face? The boy that I liked. And she was like, having to explain that to me. That's when I started, I think that's when I learned, that, okay, well, I am a little different because my dad is African American. And so for me, it just wasn't something that was on my radar.
Right.
Yep, but then that's how I learned.
But it's interesting because you say that you are, as a mixed woman, you know, you've been called the N-word, you've gone through, you know, because I look at you as racially ambiguous, honestly.
A lot of people do.
I think you look more Latina.
Everybody,
I would think.
Brazilian,
Brazilian.
something like this, yes.
But, you know, it's really interesting. So people they focus on the fact that you're African American.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
A lot of times also people say the one drop rule, which is very deep rooted in slavery. Or they do say, I've had people also, you know, where I've gone out to bars or clubs in the United States, and the barkeeper, but the guy at the front door, he'll say something like the paper bag test.
Right. Okay.
Where if your skin color is the same as the paper bag, you're good to go in. And like,
that actually happens.
Yes, that does happen still to this day.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, doesn't even cross my mind, especially now in Germany. You know, I have some instances where there might be friction, or I might have some people say rude things, but I've never had someone like take a paper bag and say, you're this color, you're allowed to do something. Yeah.
There's a saying that goes like this: don't let who you are stop you from being who you could. And when it comes to Black Americans, this quote refers to our capacity to continually transcend who we are and expunge the boundaries around us that have defined our success throughout the centuries. So as a biracial African-American woman living in Germany, has your biracialness ever served as a hindrance for you, professionally, personally, and perhaps even when you need to communicate with people?
Yes. So there was an interesting story. I don't know if I've told this on my YouTube channel, but it was very interesting. So I went to a university, and it was in HBCU, which is a historically black college university. We have those in the United States for some people that don't know. And I went there and I had a tour of it. And I remember, you know, I went with my mom and my grandma. And then one time the lady, she called me and she was like, yeah, Hayley, we'd love for you to come to the school. I don't know what they were trying to offer me, if it was a scholarship or something. And I don't think I told my mom or grandma that this happened to me. But then we were having the conversation and the lady said, but we need to write you down as white. Like, and I was like, what? And she was like, yeah. And I said, but can't you put like other or mixed? And she's like, well, no, we need to meet like a quota. And since you pass,
well, for a white person?
Yeah, for me, that was not something that I could even think of, that I would write myself down as white. For me, like I said, I'm mixed. And if anything, a lot of people see me as African American sometimes, like I said, with the one drop rule, depending on where you're at. And so for me, I realized then that it can be a good thing, but also a bad thing. Like, good thing that I would have the privilege to pass as being white, and that I would have an opportunity to go to a college or a university. But at the end of the day, why is there this quota? Like,
Right.
why is this even a thing that we have to base this on the color of our skin?
So in Germany, obviously you're a full-time YouTuber, and you have a lot of other side projects on the side. But in terms of your professional and personal interactions with Germans, have you ever felt sentiments of racism from white Germans?
Oh yes, and that's
Okay.
the thing, like it's very hard on YouTube to express these things
Yeah.
because I've talked about them sometimes, but the thing that people tend to do is maybe downplay what
Okay,
has
yeah.
happened to you.
Right.
But
Yeah, that's true.
you sometimes,
Gaslighting.
yes, and sometimes people don't understand because they haven't lived through this thing.
Yes.
So they're like, oh, that person was just rude. Well, racism and rudeness can go,
Yeah, they're
you know,
not
they can
mutually
intertwine.
exclusive, yeah.
They can also intertwine and say like, hey, your rudeness had a hint of maybe racism in it, or hey, you being an asshole
Yeah.
had a little hint of like racism sprinkled in there.
So has it been a positive or been a negative experience as a mixed woman here in Germany,
I think-
would you say?
I would say positive because
Okay.
for me to say that it's negative here would be a total disservice or a slap in the face to Germany as a whole that it has
Right.
accepted me and with open arms and embraced me. But there are, just like in the United States, a very loud and open minority to be rude, to be mean, to be degrading. And I feel like you're going to find that no matter where you go. But sometimes, you know, it takes a while for it to come out and show its true self.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So the next question is, as a mixed woman who is mainly based in Germany, how do you feel about the German police?
I love them.
Yes, compared. I mean, no,
yes,
I talked about that actually as well, about like how you say hi to the police. Here, I don't think about anything when I see the
I
police. What do you
don't
think?
think of anything bad. And the thing is, I have generally positive experiences with cops in the United States as well. I've only had like 2 bad experiences where it's like, why did you really pull me over?
In the
Like,
States,
yeah,
okay.
why did you really, like, what was the point? Like, one time my friend, she was driving home from work and she's darker than I am. And she
Yes.
worked at a bar. She got off work, I think at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's normal. And for her tip, she had a bag of Crown Royal, if you know those purple bags that you put the alcohol in to transport it, but she kept all of her money in there because it couldn't fit in her wallet or anywhere. And she said, I hate walking around with like this huge sack of dollar bills and coins because so she had it, she got pulled over, and they said, well, you were driving funny. And she's like, what do you mean I was driving funny? I got off work. And they're like, well, are you sure you're not smoking weed? And
So there was already a perception
yes,
that you
and
were
she
on
was like,
drugs.
no. So then they said, well, can we search your car? And she said, yeah, sure. So they searched her car. They found the sack of money, and they said, well, what's this? And she's like, I'm a bartender. And they're like, are you sure you're a bartender? And so they stopped her. They made her sit there for like an hour and a half at 3 o'clock in the morning, searched her whole car, asked her if she smoked weed, asked her if she was drunk, asked her what she was doing in the neighborhood she was in. And so I have not experiences necessarily like that
Here in Germany.
Germany,
Okay.
or even for myself in the United States. But I've had people like cops pull me over
Okay, well.
in the United States that
Yeah.
are like, why?
Why?
I'm not driving crazy. I
Yeah.
don't have like a warrant for my arrest. So what is the reason?
So would you say that you feel then more respected as a mixed woman here in Germany than you do in America? Because it seems like what you just said is you're hinting at there's like this unnecessary suspicion behind you
Yes.
or behind black women. So here in Germany, because you say you like the police and you
Yes,
say
I
hi to
like-
them.
yes.
Would you say that you feel more respected here as a mixed woman in Germany than you would do in the States? Or there are those like these suspicions of you. Do you think those don't exist for you personally here?
I don't know if it's necessarily a mixed person. I would say yes to that question.
Okay.
But to even branch it out as a human, I feel like Germans respect humans a little bit more, like each other a little bit more. Like when you have the people that are loud and they like turn down the volume so they don't like hurt their neighbors' ears or they don't disturb the peace. You
So
know,
more considerate.
yes, in the
Okay.
United States, we don't necessarily have that. We have people that say, hey, your music's a little loud. Could you turn it down? And they don't do it. So I think this general understanding of respecting people is what makes Germany a little bit better regarding how I feel as someone that is mixed.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. So, so as you know, in 2020, unfortunately, George Floyd was killed by the police. Just recently, his killer was sentenced, I believe, to 22 to 25 years in
Yes.
prison. So I was in Munich when that happened. I was watching your videos. I don't think you were in Munich when I think you were back in
No, I
Florida
was back
during
in
that
the
time.
United States.
Right. In Munich, it was I think it was in April. We had a huge turnout.
Yes,
There
it
was
was
25,000 people
It was
that
really
turned
big.
out to the Black Lives Matter protests in support of George Floyd.
Yep.
So do you regard the 25,000 turnout at Munich's 2020 Black Lives Matter protests as a sign that the movement is just as important in Germany as it is in America, in the United Kingdom, and in France?
Oh, 1000%.
Okay.
I also think that there's a group of people, regardless if, especially even with people watching my videos, they're like, no, that's not true. There's a big group of people that are wanting to be heard and that are saying their life is
That they
not,
experienced
yeah,
the violence
that they've-
too,
yeah,
even in Germany. Yeah.
even if it's not violence,
Yeah.
they've felt like they've been outcasted. They felt like they've been, mistreated. They feel like people don't respect them. They feel all of these things. And so I think that is a very big, not red flag, but you need to take notice that, hey,
Okay.
your Mitmenschen, the people that you live with, regardless if you want to live with them or not, there's a group of people that are maybe struggling. And for me,
Yeah.
I'm one of those people, if someone's struggling, I want to help and to make them feel a little bit more comfortable, or what can I do to maybe not be so inconsiderate to these people or make them feel like they're more welcome. That's how I think. What a lot of people don't think like I do, a lot of people think that you need to adjust yourself
Yeah,
to
true.
fit. And I do agree with
Yeah.
that for the most part, but I do think if people are trying their best to fit into society, but society is still not, treating them 100% like a human being, then I don't know, there needs to be a discussion that needs to be had.
That is a very good point that you raised, because actually during the protest, many people were saying that Germany doesn't have this problem. Germany doesn't need Black Lives Matter. Why are we having this, especially during Corona?
Yep.
So what do you say to Germans that disagree with you in that regard, that would say, actually, I don't think that we should have Black Lives Matter initiative because, these things, quote unquote, would not happen in Germany. So what is your response to them based on what you just said?
I think that for people to say that is not ignorant, but maybe not educated. I don't even want to say educated, but they're not just aware of what's happening around them.
So, yeah.
Regardless if someone's black, regardless if someone's white, there are people that are struggling in Germany. And maybe there is a focus on people of color, but there's also a focus of, people that are disabled struggling in Germany. There's a focus on, very lower class people that are retiring, they are struggling in
Right.
Germany. I mean, so for people to say, well, that's not true. It's
That
not,
we don't need this form of
yeah,
activism?
You need activism
Yes,
for every group
absolutely,
that
I
is
agree.
being not pushed down, but that just needs a helping hand, let's say.
Yeah.
So there, no matter where you are at in the world, there's always going to be some group of people that need help or maybe need a louder voice.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yep.
that maybe even more attention, perhaps, is a better word,
Yep.
that are on their struggle. And yeah, this brings me to my last question. I wanted to keep this a nice short interview, but this is about me
Okay.
and someone, because I am someone who is a black man.
Okay.
I have black sisters, I have a black aunt, I have a black mother,
Yes.
but I am not a black woman. I can never know, I will never be a black woman. I will
Yeah.
never know what it feels like to be objectified and disrespected in ways that only women, and particularly in this case, black women, can be disrespected. So I built this question basically to get you to maybe educate me on how is it that I can be a better ally. So the question is, when it comes to black men and women's experience in living abroad, many people don't realize that sexism too plays a critical role in dictating our overall treatment as expatriated peoples of color. I know a few black women here in Munich who have been verbally and physically assaulted. For instance, a mutual friend of ours was once picked out of a group of friends and forbidden from entering a tent during Oktoberfest because of the way she looked, because she's black. She's also light-skinned. Although she had tickets for this, but it wasn't allowed. She was ultimately physically pushed away from the tent. Considering the entitlement her male aggressor had on her in physically dragging her off the premises, one can only begin to think how much this attack on her was sexist motivated and gender motivated. As a black male, I think it's important for more black men to be aware of such instances, as we're less likely to be physically assaulted on the grounds of our gender. Especially here in Germany. So my question to you is, how could male viewers, black, white, or however, and I become better allies to not only women in Germany, but also Black women and mixed women. And how do we stand on your side? Like, what do you need from us?
So I think women in general, let's say, they want to be heard,
Okay.
especially in Germany. I think when expats come here, especially like me, coming here and having this American mindset of how women are supposed to be treated, it's sometimes viewed like, when I look at it back in the day, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's actually very like sexist how the United States works, or the Southern United States works. And I'm like, that's actually not okay.
Can you give an example?
So when I was growing up, one of the things that, Hayley, you got to be quiet, or just smile and be pretty so you can find a husband and get married. Oh, you want to go to school, but why? If you're a wife and you can be a stay-at-home mom. Things like this, they weren't meant in a malicious way, but it's like this indoctrination, like taught to you, like, I'm
deep
less
down.
than, my man needs to take care of me, and it makes you, put you below him, basically. Not necessarily saying that he is better than you, but, subconsciously you're thinking he is above me. And so then you come here, and that's not necessarily the case, but a lot of times, regardless if people want to accept it or not, women of color that are coming from certain places sometimes get taken advantage of as well. And a lot of times women just want to be heard. Regardless if they're Black, white, or anything. If something's bothering them, if something, is happening to them, I think the best way to help out is to talk about the issues, listen to what people are saying, and maybe come up with a solution, and have the conversations with other people around you as well. I think a lot of times people are scared to talk about something. They're scared to like sweep it under the rug, but you need to have an open discussion. I mean, people are having open discussions, very critical discussions about Fußball. They're having very critical discussions about something about this government or that government. But when it comes to, let's say, women of color being mistreated, or even women in general being mistreated, it's always like, yeah, but they have equality here. But that still doesn't get rid of the fact that sometimes there's a group that are maybe getting treated worse than the others.
Absolutely. So you would say to me, as well as to some of my viewers, that in order for us to be, I guess, we need to be better listeners. We need to listen. Okay.
Yep.
Is there anything else that you would like to say to my viewers in regards to your experience of being a mixed woman here in Germany, and maybe some things that people should be to know, for example, about, so we can have, I guess, more sentiments of empathy, so we can understand where you're coming from? Because like I said, I don't know what it's like to be a woman or a mixed woman. So I mean, what would you like to share with us in that regard?
So for me, one of the hardest things that I've had to do is to just take apart this American racial thinking, meaning that everything is racist, which has been very hard because growing up, especially where I came from, everything was Black versus white. I don't know, there's this nasty feeling, especially when I go back and there's still people like saying certain words and certain things, and you're like, why is there such this division? So when I came here, I had to get rid of that thinking and be like, okay, Germany isn't like the United States in that sense, but for the Germans that say, oh, well, see, she said it's not the same, that does not mean that the problems do not exist.
Yes,
they just don't exist on the same scale. I'll 1000% say that. But as a mixed woman, I do have to say that it's been generally good. I mean, I can't say that my experience, like I said, it would be a slap in the face for Germany, the Germans, the system, everything that has accepted me with open arms. But there have been instances that have rubbed me the wrong way, that remind me of the United States, or that remind me of just, why would you say these things? And so for me, like I said, generally good, but there are some things that maybe these people, they missed the conversation of what is acceptable, what is not acceptable, what is hurtful. Because I'm also one of those people that I want people to not hurt one another. And the best way for you not to hurt one another is to be kind to them, not call them out of their name, not base something on their gender, their skin color, whatever it may be, something that a lot of people can't change.
I guess then my last question is, because like I said, I'm about diversity. I love having conversations on this channel, and I love talking about things that I can never understand. So I have a lot of followers who are Black women, some of our mixed women.
Hey guys.
Yes, subscribe to her channel.
Yes,
maybe you can learn something from Hayley, guys.
Yes.
So what advice, what could you tell future women Black women who are coming to Germany that are, I guess, afraid of some of these things that perhaps they can go through, and like, I guess they have these social, I guess, pressures and these labels and I guess these indoctrinations that you spoke about earlier, but they still want to leave the States and come to Germany. What is it that you can say to them that can, I guess, make the transition easier for them in terms of how to address the country?
So I have had positive and negative experiences in Germany. Sometimes I talk about my negative experiences, and I feel like there's a lot of emphasis put on them because people love negativity. So some of my videos that do well are talking about the negative aspects of living in Germany, and it's maybe like 4 videos, but I have 300 videos about positive experiences in Germany. So I like to say those negative experiences are drops in the bucket, literally raindrops. And one of the things is or are that you don't want to miss out on an opportunity because you're scared of your skin color.
I agree.
You don't want to miss out on, going somewhere because you are internally afraid of what
could happen.
What might happen.
Yes.
And you're missing out on culture, on languages, on like making friends, maybe finding a partner.
Your soulmate.
Your soulmate, exactly. You're missing out on so many things, having a wider world view because of something as trivial, and it's not trivial, but it's skin color, and you're thinking to yourself, maybe they're not gonna like me because I'm Black, but you are Black, and they're gonna have to deal with it regardless if you go there or not. They're gonna see Black people regardless if you go there or not, so you might as well make your little step in the world, and if you don't like it, you can leave. That's always, if you say, hey, I tried it, it was nice while it lasted, but it's not for me, at least.
But overall, she's saying that Germany is a positive experience for Black women.
Yes, 1000%.
Yes.
I would say that most, especially even my friends that are Black women, Black men too, have all said it's a positive experience. There have been a few stories that, I'm like, ugh, that shouldn't have happened. But I have those stories everywhere I've gone to in the world. But I only talk about Germany explicitly because this is my second home.
Yes.
And I feel like I can criticize Germany and openly speak about stuff here because I feel very comfortable here. So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I've learned a lot from you. Honestly, I have.
I have a lot to say. I could probably go into more detail, but yes, this video should be quick.
This is not going to be the only time you'll see Hayley on this channel, because we actually filmed a video where she interviewed me, and I'm not going to release the.
Oh no, it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you what it's about, but it's going to be very, very thought-provoking.
Oh yes.
So make sure you subscribe to both of our channels. You're probably already subscribed to hers, 100,000.
Make me blush.
Yes, guys. So thank you, guys. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for coming, making the trek out here.
Sorry, I'm saying thank you for being here. I'm at your house.
I know.
I'm sorry.
For making the trek over here, because Lord have mercy, I made him walk in the heat.
Yes, she did. She picked me up at the train station, though.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but anyway, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Please comment, like, subscribe, share this video if you care.
Yes.
And I will see you guys next time. Ciao.
Cheers.